So we've got a couple boxes here this time. This one, I remember last time the box cardboard kind of felt weak, like maybe they were using a slightly weaker material. This time it was a little split. Not enough where I think anybody could get anything out, but I am a bit worried. But fortunately we're doing this all on camera, so we'll find out anyways. And while we're at it... Oh, wow. Huh. Okay, first of all, this is obviously not anime. This is Mega Man Legends 2. I'm currently in the process of playing through Mega Man Legends 1 again. This actually looks to be in pretty good condition. This is a fairly pricey game. But I'll set that aside. And why don't we begin with... okay, yeah, this is everything. Let's begin with these two non-anime things. So, I have a coworker I'm watching American Horror Story with. I guess it's overall rated pretty well, so I will be watching that. And, of course, since Avengers, it's all 3D. That's because this is the Blu-ray 3D plus Blu-ray plus DVD plus digital copy plus music version for the Avengers. And Blu-ray 3D is, of course, important because it's a natural 3D movie. And with a 3D TV that I got the 3D capable Blu-ray player for, blah, 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 blah. I'm actually kind of curious about taking a peek in this one. Let's put this aside for now, so we can just look to see how everything's packaged in here. So this one plays in... looks like there's 2 discs there and 2 discs here. That's very different. I don't think I've seen that before. Not in this form factor. But there we go. There's the non-anime things. So I'll put these over with the non-anime, non-DVD game, and we'll go through the rest of these. Let's put these in this order, because first up we've got Resident Evil Damnation, which I do believe is supposed to continue off from where Degeneration did. I can feel that this is one of those Blu-rays. Let's just try and open these. There we go. I don't imagine we'll see too much different on the insides. I think there's some sort of Resident Evil collection available on Blu-ray. I think a new movie hit the... the disc is different on here. Oh yeah, and as usual, the Blu-ray discs have this thing where you can fold that in there. Now instead of closing shut and holding it, it's now an average Blu-ray case. And since I believe this is CGI and animated in Japan, that's why it's here's anime. Next up, we got Croisee, a Foreign Labyrinth, the animation. I have no clue what this is about, only that it is almost horrifyingly adorable on the front. And I've never heard of it, so I don't know what else to think about it. The title makes me hope that that's probably something different than what it is. This is a music album. Huh. Interesting. I didn't expect a music album. It explains why that's so heavy. Next up we have Hakuoki, Demon of the Floating Blossom. Blossom? Yeah. Don't know what to think about this. Can't even tell. Is that a guy or a girl? A bit androgynous, as some anime characters tend to be. So I don't know. It could affect what kind of show this is in a variety of ways. For a lot of these, I'm kind of interested in actually watching it and find out for myself. Just not knowing what to expect. Watching it, I'm like, oh, I'm watching this kind of show now. It helps to deal with viewing biases. I guess there's a PSP game for it. And the last thing that arrived in this shipment was probably the most important release this week, Steins Gate. And why is this the most important release this week? Because this thing is rated so incredibly high that even though I only very vaguely have an impression of what it might possibly be about, but someone like me wants to see it just to know why. What does this all mean? So this comes with an insert to hold the place for the second part whenever that comes out, and then we've got part 1. We've got it on DVD disc 1, DVD disc 2, and Blu-ray disc 1 and Blu-ray disc 2. So I'm actually going to switch the order of these so that one is on the left and 2 is on the right, like so. Oh. And of course we're not done there. We got an import from Japan, which would be the 3rd volume of the Mobile Suit Gundam Seed HD Remaster Blu-ray release. Japanese with English subtitles. Huh. Maybe I should just forget about saving. So, in here we've got a book with some papers, and we've got our discs. Ooh, we got a loose one. I think they've made Blu-ray just overall more resilient, so that should be okay. 36, I don't think, that's not the number of episodes Gundam Seed has, right? It has more than that, right? I'm asking because I'm kind of expecting more releases. I should really double check this stuff on my own before I go and make these videos. Also, it's really hard to get these things back in here, as I suddenly remembered. Sort of like playing Mega Man Legends. I suddenly remembered, oh yeah, this boss was really annoying. Why can't I hit anything? Do I need more range? Do I need more attack? Oh, God. I swear there's got to be a strategy to this, but these inserts are not being agreeable. There we go. Now all I have to do is figure out how to get it back in here. Which I remember also being particularly challenging. Especially when the speaker side is being a douche. But, no, we got everything back in. No problem for that next time when I finally watch Gundam Seed on Blu-ray, which would be when I rewatch it. Not to finish my anime releases there, because I also got the second Fate Zero set, which I've also already watched, and I have to say that I was far more impressed by this one than the previous one, which doesn't surprise me. We've got our English translation booklet, and then we've got the contents itself. So, here we've got a random booklet, probably what most of the translated stuff is. Here we've got a drama CD and the second soundtrack. And then we've got the discs themselves. This simple, just like so. Nice and simple and straightforward. I guess the only remaining issue is that I don't have an official way to close it. As in, I can get it back in the plastic. Do this. Put this here. I should probably take a look to see what I did with the other one and just do it for this. I'll put the rubber band down here. I guess that kind of holds it shut. And then there's only 3 things remaining. Oops, I should have done this ahead of time. I got 3 hentai DVDs, and there's All Sex Hentai Volume 4, Bondage Mansion, and 60 Sailor Soldiers. And I have to say that I took a peek at, well, the 2 non-adult source media titles, and I have to say this one was rather disturbing. It's not just, I don't know how to explain it. They're just so deformed. It's alarming. Alright, putting that aside, we're back down to the core of this week's release, and like I said, I guess I didn't say that to y'all, I probably said this somewhere else, but given my previous couple of weeks of stuff, this is the revenge of the anime, where these 2 alone are probably worth more than all my non-anime purchases for the past couple of weeks, including, well, this was probably equivalent to the Harry Potter set, and this was probably slightly more than all the other random DVDs. So there you go. And then there's this week's stuff. So overall, a ton of new stuff for my collection. So this has been an interesting week for watching stuff. So first of all, I watched King of Thorn, and I think I might have mentioned last week, being kind of curious about it. Watching the preview and being reminded of watching the previews of Origin Spirits of the Past, insofar as this advertisement actually seems like this movie would be really interesting. And in the case of Origins of Spirits of the Past, I thought that the preview ended up being better than the anime. Not that the anime was necessarily bad, just that I thought the preview did a really good job of making an okay anime look spectacular and interesting, strange. And for some reason it didn't feel that way while watching it. I don't remember that. That was a long time ago. But King of Thorn was a bit different, where I kind of felt like the movie held up to the preview. Now, I think this doesn't hold true for everybody who watches it. In particular, the people who read the original source manga are apparently pretty disappointed in the movie. My understanding that the manga was about the right length to be adapted into a movie. The pacing of the movie feels just about right. Throughout pretty much all of it, I thought. there were a couple of small problems I had with it where became really obvious that the characters were being switched with CGI versions of them for a lot of stuff. And it wasn't very subtle. It was kind of obvious feeling and kind of not as fluid, maybe. It kind of missed out on that feeling of, oh, this is a good animated segment here. Instead it was a okay CGI segment, I guess. Another being that I kind of expected a little more variety in what they would encounter, but overall it wasn't too bad. It was just this one little aspect where I would have wanted more, but I think he gets away with it for just taking so many twists that I completely did not expect. And that was pretty much the case throughout the entire movie. I mean, there's some obvious things in there where you can predict them, but then it's like other things that you're like, this completely meshes with what's been going on in the movie, and I never saw this coming. Wow. So overall, I guess if there was one more thing I had to complain about, it's that the gore that's in there, I didn't think it was that necessary. It almost seemed like it was kind of in there for being in there, where they could have conveyed what was needed at that point without just being so explicit about it, I guess. But yeah, overall, enjoyed it. So, probably the more important thing to talk about this week is the second Fate Zero set. Now, I believe y'all remember when I talked about the first one, feeling somewhat put off by it. And to the first set's credit, I definitely felt like it had interesting characters and character interactions and stuff. But I felt like the series kind of had this promising development that it intentionally kept teasing us with and then not really doing anything. And I thought that the number of things that you could say actually happened in the anime probably could be counted on one hand, because everything else turned out to be irrelevant to the overall plot, story development, whatever. It's like, oh, we discovered this one person's base. Well, it just so happens they didn't happen to be there that time, and it's there, and they're just going to make another base somewhere else. Things like that, where it's... I kind of noticed Fate Zero One was messing around, and I was a bit worried about what this would mean about the second season. And the second season is automatically better because all the stuff that the first season kind of promised, the second season started delivering on. So in that case, it would have been an okay series, but I thought it actually went beyond okay to good to pretty good, or maybe even spectacular for some people out there, I'm sure, where it's like what they built up for at the ending was not something I was kind of expecting. I'm like, this is good. This is why Fate Zero can be justified for existing, because this stuff is interesting, and it's not so dependent on Fate's Day Night, on trying to lead up to that per se, so much as trying to give us very interesting insights into the characters involved, which kind of goes well in hand with the characters and character development from the first half. It's just it was also progressing the plot and clearly building up something, even if it wasn't immediately obvious in the second half. It almost makes me think that maybe it was a little too long. Like, maybe it could be a bit better focused by... I think 12 episodes would be too short for the series, and that maybe 24, 25 was a little too long, so maybe somewhere in between those, which I don't really think we see a lot of episodes of. Maybe that would have done it better, but I think that complaint could be leveled at a lot of series that people really like. So, overall, having watched it, I actually wouldn't mind seeing it again, I guess. My friend who was putting off watching Fate Zero until I had a more complete thing to say, I'll probably talk to him a bit more about it. Truth is, though, he may be more interested in Steins Gate, but I don't know. We'll have to find out. For tonight, obviously doing a late update, and my brother came over, and we watched more of the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, and this time was our time where we went through Endless 8, and it's very interesting to go through Endless 8, because in this case, you know, unlike the poor people who had to deal with it when it aired, he got to do it all in one sitting, and that's a very tiring thing. If I seem a little tired, it's either playing video games too much the past couple of nights, or having just come off of watching all 8 episodes of Endless 8 back to back. And I think I've mentioned this last time, but they're actually fairly watchable, but also fairly repetitive at the same time. So it's a very exhausting, because it can keep your attention while also draining you of excitement in a way. In the case of my brother, it was very interesting watching him go through it, because he kept laughing so much about it through the whole time, and not just about the concept of Endless 8, but of like what kept happening here and there. And it's like, they didn't do this time, and they did do this time, and he thought it was amusing in a sort of I'm being trolled and I knew it going into it sort of way. And it was, I guess, the most interesting, relevant thing about that in terms of Endless 8 is how a lot of that just kind of dragged down a bit as it got past episode 6 and then the 7, and it's like by episode 8, you know, he was finally getting back up again, because he knew it was the last episode, and he was trying to look for anything key critical that would happen otherwise, other than the thing that he already knew would happen. But no, and then we finished it, and both exhausted. Of course, that ends tonight, because we'll finish the series next week. This week we had Endless 8, and it was an amusing thing to go through again. It's not something I would probably choose to do on my own unless I was really trying to rewatch the whole series, or trying to do something else really insane with Endless 8. The only other anime I watched was 12 Kingdoms. I'm watching with Charles. I'm trying to remember how many episodes we got in, but I'm trying to watch it knowing where the conclusion is, because I remember how it ends, or rather how the story of book 3 ends, and books 2 and 4 I kind of ended up not going anywhere, because I guess not everything got implemented into the series. So books 1 and 3, as far as I'm concerned, are the main ones, assuming I'm using the right terminology, and I know where book 3 ends, so it's interesting watching book 1, seeing where it's developing towards getting there, but I don't know if I could say much more than that specifically. Watching it for the first time, or trying to think about stuff objectively, you know, as my friend pointed out, there's a lot of psychological stuff going on. It's not, I don't know that it's necessarily Evangelion deep, but it's definitely very interesting, very thoughtful, although it's also very a very instant sort of thing, I guess. I don't know how to put it. It's the brain is a bit exhausted from endless eating. Yeah, I can't think of too much else to talk about in terms of 12 Kingdoms without giving away more than I would want to. So I'll just go from that to briefly talk about Mega Man Legends, which was what I've been doing instead of really watching anime. I knew that the talks on Reddit recently about Mega Man Legends stuff made me realize, or finally decide, I'm going to purchase Mega Man Legends 2. And so of course I got it, but since it's been so long since I played through the first one, I decided to finally play my PlayStation copy. When I last played it was the PC version. It's kind of interesting how the parts that I thought were annoying that time are pretty much annoying this time, with a couple of exceptions being that the PlayStation controller does make it a lot easier to control. I remember there being issues with playing on the PC version, like not being able to hold down enough keys at the same time to properly circle strafe, which is pretty much a key component in first-person shooters. And although this isn't a first-person shooter, you're still doing the same sorts of maneuvers that would be useful in that case. So, what to say about it beyond? There are definitely annoying parts. I mean, it's kind of interesting how there's this completely different atmosphere that Mega Man Legends kind of has that I can't really think about other games necessarily having. And at the same time, it's also got this kind of simple, comical sort of way of presenting everything that's maybe not completely unexpected of it. But it's a strange mix of all this stuff. And overall, I am enjoying going through it again. It definitely fulfills certain... I haven't played a game like this in a long time, sorts of feelings. One of those being, oh my god, the annoying minigames. My thumb is still sore from that goddamn racing game. Not the racing game, but the rollerblading thing. Oh god. That hurt the thumb a lot. It doesn't like the PlayStation controller for some reason. So there we go. I'm on the other side of that annoyance, which isn't necessary, but I do want to... I am being a bit of a completionist, so there we go. I'm looking forward to playing more of it. I don't know how that's going to interfere with my anime watching. There's good stuff here, but I need to try and finish that game, especially since the Misadventures of Miss Tron is on the way, and that means maybe trying to play that one as well. That will be a completely new experience. Okay, there we go. Bunches and bunches of random stuff. Mega Man Legends isn't anime, but whatever. I've got that one too much on the brain to think otherwise. The shout out to the DVD collection people who are up late enough to witness the recording of this. That would be Charles, Oz Shadow, and the Fat Kid for Life. Yo, and y'all have a nice week.